Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From my drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Siggy Guns never fail. What's up, Magnum Sports Network fans? My name is JT Magnum here along with Siggy Guns, and welcome to Fantasy Football Fiends Week 7 of our Stardom and Sid'em show. And real quick, as always, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for leaving all the comments in the comment section and asking us all the questions you do. For all the new people that are new to watching this show, we talk about the small guys. We don't talk about the big guys. I mean, that's obvious. You start your big name players. You start your DeMarco Murrays, your Adrian Petersons when he's playing, and you start your big name dudes, your Aaron Rodgers, your Peyton Mannings. You always start them. We know that. We're here to talk about the lesser known people that we think that we feel that might do good during the week based on matchup stats, based on how teams are doing defensively, and things like that. Excuse me. So we tried to bring you that content just in case you might have a guy on a bye and you're looking for somebody to pick up, or you have a guy on a bye but you're not sure who you want to put in. We're here to help you with those type of players. So let's get into injuries this week. There was a lot of them. My goodness,
a lot.
So we'll be talking a little bit about players probably most likely subbing for them, or players from most likely that we feel that might do well. But Marvin Jones out for the year. Victor Cruz out for the year. Calvin Johnson still injured, not sure. You might want to monitor him this week. He is hurt still, and I've heard that they want to hold him out maybe a couple more weeks or a week or two. But they also said that he might go this week, so we're not sure. AJ Green,
I hear it might even be out to week 10. That was the latest rumor.
Yeah, so monitor him because we're getting multiple. I've seen multiple things about him. I've been checking up on him. He is on my fantasy squad, so I've been checking on him a lot. AJ Green, another one that they're saying that he might be out maybe a couple weeks, but then next they're saying that he might play this week. So monitor him especially because Mohamed Sanu has been definitely a good pickup, and with Marvin Jones opposite him out too, Mohamed Sanu's stock is going to rise in more, including Brandon Tate's. Reggie Bush, he might play this week, might not. We don't know what's going on. His backup, Theo Riddick, he got hurt as well in that game. He pulled a hamstring, so not sure if he's even going to go. So Joique Bell is the main guy right now in Detroit. Darren Sproles was injured. They said he's out 2 to 3 weeks with sprained, I believe, MCL. I think it's a sprained MCL. So he's gone for 3 weeks, which means LaShawn McCoy is going to start getting all the carries mostly. So he's finally going to get those goal line carries that Sproles been getting on him or taken away from him. Giovanni Bernard was injured in that game late, that overtime game against the Carolina Panthers, and so Jeremy Hill is a viable backup in case Bernard can't go, but I don't think it's that serious with Bernard. I just think he was tweaked and just held him out for the rest of the game. But Stephen Ridley out for the year. I believe he tore his ACL. No Sean Moreno gone for the year. He just came back off injury, and and immediately he's gone first game. Yeah, that was really shocking. CJ Spiller was taken out of the game against Buffalo. I don't think that's too much of a serious injury. I haven't heard too much about it, but you might want to monitor him. Fred Jackson was also injured in that game as well, so you might want to check him out. That leaves Anthony Dixon, Bryce Brown as the 2 other running backs on the Bills roster. So with that being said, did I miss any injuries?
I think you covered them all.
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries this week. It just seems to be an injured fest on fantasy football this year, or a suspension fest. It's one or the other with fantasy football this year. It's been one of those things where it's been hard to judge how teams are doing. One week a team is doing amazing on defense, the next week they just stink it up. And it's just it's been hard to judge fantasy football this year. So we're doing our best, but let's get into the waiver wires. Who's your 3 waiver wire pickups this week?
I have Andre Holmes out of the Oakland Raiders, Storm Johnson for Jacksonville, and Trey Mason. And I'll go ahead and talk about Storm Johnson. Everybody thought it was going to be Toby Gerhart all day long, and he just has not been showing up. But Storm Johnson had that little spark plug, kind of like how Trey Mason did yesterday. I think you're going to start seeing these young guys get their shot now It's week 7. It's pretty much, right there. You see what you get pretty much. What do you have drafted? You're not going anywhere already. Some of these teams know they're out, and this is just these 3 players right here are going to have bigger roles, bigger increases going forward, and definitely waiver wire pickups of the week.
Yeah, just on a side note, Philadelphia and Tampa Bay are on bye weeks this week, so just to let you guys know that. So in case you have like Nick Foles, Sean McCoy, Jeremy Maclin, players like that, and some of the Bucks, these are your opportunity to pick up some players off the waiver wire in case you have one of those as your starting quarterback, which I hope you don't have Mike Glennon, but if you do, you're in. I feel bad for you, but my 3 waiver wire picks are Kyle Orton, Trey Mason, and Brandon Lloyd. Kyle Orton, not so much. I mean, if you're desperate, pick him up. But, if you need a quarterback really bad, I would say pick him up, but not really a good pickup. But we'll talk about Brandon Lloyd. Yesterday, the last 2 weeks, Brandon Lloyd has been doing some phenomenal – he had a phenomenal touchdown catch last night in the Monday Night Football game, and they're starting to use him a lot more. It seems like the 49ers are starting to open up that passing game. And Brandon Lloyd seems to be that third option along with Stevie Johnson in and out. And sometimes he actually comes in and substitutes. Sometimes we've been getting some formations with Brandon Lloyd and Stevie Johnson in the game with Anquan Bolden and Michael Crabtree out. So it's been one of those things where he's been interchangeable, and he's good and due for a lot of yards every now and then. And it's that time of the year where he's starting to click. And this is where Brandon Lloyd usually takes off. So if you're in a desperate need for a wide receiver, you have a Calvin Johnson out. You have like 2 Calvin Johnson, AJ Green on your team, and you have both of them are out or things like that, and you need a wide receiver desperately, he might be a really good pickup for you this week off the waiver wire. So who's your another good one is, by the way, is Andre Holmes. I know a lot of people are sleeping on him for Oakland, but Andre Holmes is another one. But who's your 3 – we're going to the stardom portion. Who is your 3 quarterback must-starts?
Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, and Ben Roethlisberger. And I'll go ahead and talk about Flacco. Flacco, he was on a roll already with these 5 touches against Tampa Bay. And now that they're on a bye week, in comes in Atlanta, who's been giving up a ton of yards in the air. We've been talking about all season long. And I mean, I just think that and now they're at home also, it's just going to be a game where finally the receivers, even Torrey Smith is looking like he might actually play again. So I just think Flacco is going to be on a roll, and he's on a hot streak right now. I think you need to keep playing with him with confidence.
Yeah, I have. You're going to be surprised at my starts. Alex Smith, Kirk Cousins, and Brian Hoyer. And I'll talk about Alex Smith. They're playing the Chargers. The Chargers got lit up by Derek Carr last week, and they're having some problems in the secondary right now with that. I couldn't believe Derek Carr did that. And in comes a hot Alex Smith. He's been doing very well. He hasn't thrown, that many picks this year. As usually, he's one of those quarterbacks that keeps his turnovers down. But that screen game and those quick passes, I have a feeling that he's going to have San Diego's going to have their hands full with Alex Smith this week and throwing to DeAnthony Thomas and Jamal Charles and all the running backs and Travis Kelce. So Alex Smith, I think, is going to have a great game this week. So who's your 3 running back starts?
Eddie Lacy, Ben Tate, and Jerick McKinnon. I'll go ahead and talk about McKinnon. It looks like Asiata is starting to go ahead. I knew eventually it would happen where, they're going to go ahead and give more carries to McKinnon. He's just a more explosive back, and he has a great matchup actually against the Buffalo Bills. I just think that, the Bills, I think they're going to play real good at home, but I think, being in the Northeast, it's already starting to get cold up there. It has a run feel to it. It's real, football,
that's a
late
prediction.
October football, mid-October football. I got a feeling that McKinnon's going to have a real good game.
It's a bold prediction. Bills have the number 1 run defense. That's a good bold prediction.
The Bills, they gave up a lot of yards last week.
They gave up a lot of passing yards. They're the number 1 run defense in the NFL right now. But
yeah, that's true.
But you never know.
I think McKinnon's going to have a great game against the Bills.
My 3 are Ben Tate, Andre Ellington, and Frank Gore. And we'll talk about Andre Ellington. They're going up against Oakland. Oakland's been giving up yardage all over the place. They gave up another 100-yard rusher last week to Brandon Oliver of the Chargers. They came close to winning that game, but Andre Ellington's a different breed of running back. The dude is good. He's gonna. I look for him to be running all over the place, especially with Carson Palmer back. It looks like he's back at least, and they're going to be running the ball. A lot of play action. I think a lot of points are going to be scored this week against Oakland. So Andre Ellington's going to have. He's going to have. I think he's going to have a monster game. Who's your three starting wide receivers?
Julian Edelman, Ruben Randall, and Cobb for Green Bay. And I'll go ahead and talk about Randall. Now that Victor Cruz is gone, Randall is obviously going to be the receiver that I think Eli trusts the most. Obviously, some other receivers like Odell Beckham Jr. is going to have more opportunities. But as far as trust goes, it's either going to be now more heavily towards Donnell. We still haven't, I don't know, still haven't figured out the name yet. And then and Randall. And I just think Randall's a good start, and certainly somebody you should throw out there with confidence, especially against the Cowboys. The Cowboys secondary isn't really all that. Their defense is playing a lot better, don't get me wrong. But Randall has a good opportunity to get some yards.
My three wide receivers this week are Terrence Williams, Wes Welker, and Andre Johnson. And we're going to talk about Wes Welker. You haven't really heard his name this year in fantasy football. It's been Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, and what's his name? Emmanuel Sanders. And Wes Welker's been the guy that's kind of, just left in the dark there. The 49ers are coming to town this week against Denver. They're giving up pass plays here and there. They're the number two ranked pass defense in the NFL, despite all the losses they had last year in free agency, despite some loss of a starting cornerback, and their nickel cornerback this week. But they're coming in with Peyton. They're coming into Peyton Manning without Patrick Willis. They're going to need to defend, and I think Wes Welker in the slot is going to be very, very difficult to defend this week against Peyton Manning. I think they're going to take advantage of the slot corners the slot cornerback this week, and whoever's pretty much on Wes Welker. So look for Wes Welker to actually have his breakout game this week against the 49ers. Who's your top three tight ends?
Now, I got some names here that probably nobody's going to really care about. Jason Miro, Graham, and Ebron from Detroit. And I'm going to talk about Jason Miro. Miro is the safety blanket for Geno Smith. New England is going to kill the Jets this week, and the Jets' offense right now is just good, dink and dunk. Right, the rushing is not as well as they thought it would be on paper. And Jason Miro has actually been the receiver that I think is going to have a lot of opportunities, especially since Revis is going to shut out Decker, and the only person that he's probably going to be able to throw to is going to be Jason Miro. So I think he'll have a good game. And New England does tend to have a tendency of giving up a lot of yards to tight ends, so it's a pretty good matchup for him.
Yeah, I have Larry Donnell, Delaney Walker, and Jordan Cameron. And we'll talk about Jordan Cameron. He's back, finally back off injury, playing well. And he's playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who already know they're giving up tons and tons of yardage and points. So I mean, every now and then they have that good defensive game, unless you're playing like the Titans. Of course, last week they were struggling against them. But Jordan Cameron, fast tight end, tall, athletic. I think he's going to have a monster game this week against Jacksonville. So who's your three defenses?
Dallas, New England, and Cleveland. Obviously, we could talk about Cleveland and New England because of the fact that they're playing just the worst teams right now in the NFL. But we're going to talk about Dallas. Now, the loss of Victor Cruz is going to be huge, for the Giants in terms of that their offense is just not going to be the same. They're going to have to readjust everything. Now Beckham all of a sudden is going to be asked to do a lot. And even though Dallas has a tendency to give up a lot of plays in the air, I just think that at home, and the Giants reeling from this injury, I just see this game being an absolute blowout in favor for Dallas, just destroying New York Giants. So Dallas is a great defense to play this week if you have them.
Yeah, I also have Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland Browns, and the Arizona Cardinals. And since you touched up on Dallas, I'll touch up on Cleveland. They're playing Jacksonville. I know Blake Bortles has been doing well, but they still haven't been able to manufacture a lot of points, and they won't be able to do it against a good Cleveland defense, and who's playing great I mean, they shut Pittsburgh down. I was actually in shock at how well they played against Pittsburgh because I thought that game was going to be a shootout because the last time Antonio Brown absolutely killed them. But they did a great job.
A good game.
Yeah, they did a great job on him. They did a great job on Pittsburgh itself, neutralizing Ben Roethlisberger, and I like them a lot. I mean, obviously Jacksonville's no Pittsburgh, so I like them a lot going against Jacksonville. So let's get into the sit-em portion of it. Who's your 3 quarterback sits of the week?
You know, it was really tough this week for some reason to pick sit-ems because there's a lot of quarterbacks, you know, good matchups against each other.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
The only real name that I have on the sit, I have the 3 sits is Austin Davis, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Cam Newton. And I guess I'll touch up on Newton since he's the bigger name. He's going up against Green Bay, and they're playing at the frozen tundra. And like I said, the north is starting to get a little bit colder. And I just think that just plays better for the run game and also plays better for defenses. There's low scoring. You know, it's been a lot of scoring lately in the NFL. And I just think now that the colder weather is going to start coming, I'm going to see lower scores. And Cam Newton with Kelvin Benjamin, I think Benjamin actually got a little hurt the last game. I'm not sure if he's going to be in the injury report or not, but I think that's going to be pretty big in regards to going forward in the passing game. If they have to rely on this bad rush, then Cam Newton's going to be in trouble because that's something that they've never really had as a good passing except for Benjamin this year. And if he's hurt at all, I just think Cam Newton's going to have a game where he's not going to be good at all.
Yeah, and I think Green Bay is actually 5th or 6th ranked against quarterbacks this year in fantasy football. Like they have one of the
which is pretty shocking.
They're one of the hardest teams to score on fantasy wise. Yeah, it's been weird how they gave up their points, but they haven't done it to quarterbacks. So that I mean, I could see why you could pick Cam Newton, but my 3 sits are and I agree it's been a hard week to decide on the sits, so I had to think about it really hard. But my 3 are Andy Dalton, Ben Roethlisberger, and Colin Kaepernick, coming off that great game. And I'll touch on Colin Kaepernick actually because he had this great game against the Rams, and the Rams defense isn't as great as people think it is. It's there's a lot of rookies, there are a lot of young players on that team, and they're going to be good, I believe, in the future, but just not yet. And Colin Kaepernick just lit him up last night. But he's going against Aqib Talib and the Denver Broncos, and it's a different. That pass rush is real. They play very well against the run, and the 49ers are going to have a lot more ball control. They're going to have to run the ball in Denver to keep the ball out of Peyton Manning's hand, and I doubt Colin Kaepernick will be that person that's going to be running all the time. It's going to be more Frank Gore, Carlos Hyde type of game. A lot of short throws, not too much of the deep stuff. So I just think that the 49ers are going to play a lot more conservatively going into Denver. And Colin Kaepernick's not going to have that monster game. So who's your 3 running back sits?
Zach Stacy, Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon
I forget
Bell.
His first name already for Pittsburgh.
Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, and then Jonathan Stewart. And I'll go ahead and talk about Zach Stacy. Trey Mason looked real good. Zach Stacy did not look good. And this is actually the point last season where Zach Stacy looked good. And, that's how he established himself as the starter of St. Louis. It's starting to look like, it's same with like Asiata I touched on earlier, they're just on their way down the decline. And I think already, and as talented as Stacy has looked, at ending last season and in the beginning of this year, it just seems like Trey Mason is so much better that I got a feeling he's going to be taking a lot of carries away from him already. And against Seattle, obviously, that defense, you're not going to do much anyways. And I just think, added on top of that you're going to have your carries reduced. Stacy is not going to be the lone back that everybody probably thought he was when you drafted him.
Yeah. And another thing, Benny Cunningham's on that team. He was taking carries from him as well. So it doesn't look really good for Zach Stacy. So definitely, most likely a definite must sit. My 3 guys are Ronnie Hillman, Steven Jackson, and Giovanni Bernard. And real quick, I sat Giovanni Bernard last week, and it was the biggest mistake. But this week going against Indianapolis, this week, I really thought he was going to have a rough game against that Carolina defense. And what does he do? He runs an 89-yard touchdown. And I was like, are you kidding me? So kudos to Giovanni Bernard. Maybe he watched the show. I doubt it, but you never know. But anyways, I'm going to talk about Steven Jackson. This guy, I don't even know why he's starting. I'll be honest with you.
It's
He
gonna
has
be Anton
been
Smith.
straight up fantasy football disappointment. But for some reason, they leave him in there. The Falcons keep using him, but then they have this guy Anton Smith who's on the bench who's coming off. He's got 23 touches this year, just 23 touches, and 340 something yards off those touches, and like what 4 or 5 touchdowns. The guy is just an explosive play waiting to happen every time he touches the ball. So hopefully, this is the week they actually use him. So if you have Anton Smith, get him now. If you don't have him, get him. My goodness, get him. Because Steven, I don't think by the end of the year, Steven Jackson is going to be non-existent because this guy is just literally he's too explosive to keep on the bench like that, and Steven Jackson is just not benefiting from that guy touching the ball as much as he's touching it. So.
Yeah,
Who's
exactly. And I don't know if maybe it's a loyalty thing. That's probably why they're giving it to Steven Jackson.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's been getting stuff on the goal line too. Have you noticed? It seems like the only time he does carry is on the goal line, and he's been getting stuffed every time.
He's struggling. I don't know what it is because I mean he's a good back. It's just that
he's old.
He's older. He's on the decline.
Years and years of breaking down.
Yeah. So who's your 3 wide receiver sits?
Decker, Marcus Colston, and DeAndre Hopkins. And I'll go ahead and talk about Hopkins. This is a guy that I thought for sure in Houston with Fitzpatrick was going to start benefiting a lot. But now it seems like what happened was when he was doing good, it was more because Andre Johnson was not 100%. And now that Andre Johnson is starting to feel better and better, you notice that his production is starting to go up and Hopkins is going down. And again, you can't take chances on, hope anymore at this point. This is the make or break it season already. This week 7, if your team is 2-5 or 2-4 entering this game, you're in trouble if you don't win this game. And Hopkins is not a guy you can rely on right now.
Yeah, my 3 wide receiver sits are Brian Quick, Eric Decker, and T.Y. Hilton. Shocker. T.Y. Hilton because they're going against Cincinnati, and I just have a feeling those corners are finally going to play up to their potential.
I don't think so.
Now, they've been playing really good football. But they've been getting run on the last couple games, and I just think, going into Indianapolis, that defense is going to play a lot better than people think, and they're going to be keying on T.Y. Hilton because he's their spark plug. He's the guy going over the middle deep. He's the guy, catching these quick slants, trying to, taking it to the house basically. And Reggie Wayne, I think, is the guy that's actually going to have the bigger game this week than T.Y. Hilton. But T.Y. Hilton's been hard to stop. So I look for him to actually get keyed on this week, and maybe they'll take him out of the game. Who's your tight end sits?
It's going to be one of your boys, Vernon Davis, Witten, and Charles Clay. And I'll go ahead and talk about Vernon Davis. The reason why is you kind of touched on it earlier. This is going to be a game where you have to control the clock, so there's going to be a lot of running. And then when it is third down, they're not looking at him. They're looking at Anquan Bolden. He's the third down guy.
And Stevie Johnson.
It's going to be one of these games where the only shot Davis has at getting any points is if it's in the red zone, and it just so happens to go to him instead. But it's just I got a feeling this is going to be one of those games where it could be the high scoring and everybody's getting points, or it's going to be a struggle, with the running game, and as far as controlling the game anyways against the Broncos and making it to where it's manageable 21-14, and then Bolden's the one that's going to have the big game. That's the reason why I think and Vernon Davis is going to have a struggle.
My 3 are Travis Kelce, Eric Ebron, and Kobe Fleener. And I want to say New Orleans' defense has been really, really horrible this year, and because they've been really struggling. But Detroit has been struggling as well. Ever since Calvin Johnson went down, and it seems like their running backs are a little bit unsure. It just seems like they're having a rough time getting the ball to anybody. Stafford is having a rough time getting the ball to people, and I think if things like that are happening, Eric Ebron's going to suffer for it. So, I mean, he's not one of their main options.
I have him my start just because he's playing the Saints. The Saints just can't stop anybody.
They seem like it, but I think they've had a week off. They've had a bye to kind of fix their problems, and they're coming into Detroit facing a hurt team. I don't think the Saints are going to beat Detroit, but I think they're facing a hurt Detroit Lions team right now, and this is the prime advantage to try to take advantage of that. And I think Eric Ebron's not a main option for that team. I don't think he's going to get that many catches this week against New Orleans. That's just my opinion.
No, I can see it.
Who's your defensive sits this week?
Some some pretty good defenses on any of the week except for Carolina. I mean, it's Carolina, Cincinnati, and Kansas City, and I'll go ahead and talk about Cincinnati. The Colts at home is just they're right now with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck is playing great, and I don't think any defense can stop him, even if your team is great offensively or defensively. Luck just has a way of beating you no matter what, and he has all the tools right now to do it. Whether even with Richardson, he has the tools to do it. So I just think that the Colts are just going to run all over, or throw all over Cincinnati. That great pass rush is not going to be any good whenever you're going to have somebody being able to release the ball that quick. And that's the reason why I think you're wrong about T.Y. Hilton. I think the slants is going to be one of the major things in this game, and I think T.Y. Hilton is going to light them up.
Yeah, my three defenses are the San Diego Chargers, Detroit Lions, and San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, San Francisco going against Peyton Manning. I don't trust them this week, especially with Patrick Willis hurt. There's too many guys hurt on the 49ers right now. It's unbelievable how they're even winning games. But I will talk about the Detroit Lions. New Orleans is coming off a bye. We're just talking about this. And Drew Brees has been a fantasy disappointment. I mean, I don't know what's going on with him. He's getting the yardage. He's not really getting the touchdowns. He's throwing a lot of interceptions. It just seems like he's always under pressure. He's just not the same Drew Brees. They've had a week off. They're facing a Lions team without an offense right now. Like their offense isn't as strong as it normally was with Calvin Johnson in the game. And I like the Saints this week to score some points against the Lions. I don't think they're going to win. I still think the Saints aren't good enough to beat the Lions, but I think the Lions are going to struggle and they're going to give up a lot more points than they're used to giving up. Who's your let's get into the sleepers portion. Actually, this is the last portion of the show. Who's your three sleepers of the week?
Some surprise names here. Kyle Orton, you touched on him earlier, but Buffalo is playing Minnesota, and Minnesota has been giving up a lot of points. And I could see Kyle Orton just going off. I also have Bishop Sankey, who's now the starter of Tennessee after all these weeks. That's somebody that you got to watch out, because even though Tennessee is playing Washington, both teams are struggling defensively, and they both can either score a lot of points or they could just be doing nothing in the game. And I just think that plays well for Sankey. And then I have Jermaine Kearse. I just think that everybody's keying on Percy Harvin a lot, and I just think that he's been open the most. And he's actually looking pretty good. I think these are three names that while you might have them just stashed there, I think they have potential to have a good game this week.
Yeah, and Sean Green's injured, I believe, too. I didn't even touch up on him, but I believe he's injured as well. It's going to give Sankey a lot more carries. He's on the Jets, that's why he doesn't like them. My three sleepers are Antone Smith, DeAnthony Thomas from the Chiefs, and Justin Hunter. And I'm gonna touch up on Antone Smith. Like I said, the guy is just an explosion waiting to happen. He looks like he's shot out of the cannon when he catches the ball or runs the ball. He's just too explosive to leave on the bench. And going against Baltimore, you're going to need those explosive plays. You're going to need somebody like that to run the ball, because Baltimore's defense is starting to step it up a little bit more. Granted, they did play Tampa Bay, and they're having a little bit. They used to be one of those run-stuffing teams, but they're not the same run-stuffing team they used to be. And I know they got Haloti Ngata in the middle, and they still got some of those players, but they're not the same run-stuffing team they used to be. So hopefully, if Atlanta starts to actually finally use this guy a little bit more, he can be a lot. He can get you a couple touchdowns a game, a lot of receiving yards and rushing yards.
Yeah.
Well, so that does it. That does it for our Stardom Sit in Week 7. Leave comments in the comment section. Don't forget to ask us questions. We do our best work in that comment section. We try to help people the best we can with your starter advice and with the top players. That that's where we actually get to talk about the top players, is in the comment section. So let us know if you have any questions. Tweet at us at Optimus Magnum and at Siggy V. You can, make sure you tweet us both at the same time, because one of us will always be able to answer, and in case the other one doesn't. So, we both have jobs, obviously, so we have to be able to try to get to them when we can. But We try to get to all of them. If we don't, we're sorry. We do apologize in advance, but we try to get to all the comments and all the questions on Twitter as fast as we can. So for Siggy Guns and JT Magnum, we out. Enjoy Week 7. Best of luck, and take care. Fantasy Football Fiends, we out. Peace.